Hi, I'm Gary White for Channel 6, Central Kentucky Television, and I'm here with Juanita Herron. We're at the Marion County Extension Office, and today we're going to make some famous seafood garlic biscuits.
That's exactly right. Are you excited, Gary?
I am. I like every element of that. I like seafood, I like garlic, I like biscuits, and famous.
And famous. They're famous. Well, that is just a name, and this is one of our older recipes that we have had for a number of years around. Actually, an FCS agent over in Washington County, and some of you people out there might remember Kay Kennedy. She's the one that introduced me to this recipe several years ago, and it's kindly been one of our go-to recipes.
Fantastic. So, are these pretty healthy?
Well, they are.
As far as biscuits go?
Yes, as far as biscuits go. You know, you've got to think about that. But actually, Gary, this that we're going to make, I'll make about 12 servings.
Okay.
Now, of course, you know, when you're making biscuits, and this is going to be like a drop biscuits, you know, we can have a 2-inch biscuits. You know, some people might have a 3 or 4-inch biscuits. So you've got to go. And so we're going to talk about just an average size biscuit. The calorie would only be 127 calories. And that's not bad, right?
Right.
You know, you could eat almost some of the bread. A slice of bread can almost be that right now. So it is, and the fat contents in it is about 6 grams. And the carbs is 13. I know a lot of people out there now are talking about the carbs. So just wanting to let you know that it has about 13 grams of carb in it. So so that's something to know.
Any kind of bread-based thing is going to have a lot of carbs.
Anything is going to have carbs.
Yeah.
But now let me say this, Gary. You know, we're always talking about, and I don't care what anybody, if they're trying to cut carbs or whatever, but we know we have a lot of health issues with diabetes and those type of things, that we do have to watch the carbs. But when I am teaching my plate, of course, you know, it has a pretty good section there with the grain group, correct? And we need about 6 ounces of that every day. So, you know, those carbs is where we get our most source of energy. So, you know, we do need those carbs, but we just got to be mindful of how many we're putting in and how we're doing everything else, right?
Right, because I need some energy sometimes during the day. So
I know. A lot of times we think if we can get a piece of candy or a candy bar or a cookie that we're going to get some energy. Well, that is just a short piece. That's just a sugar high. But the best type to get energy is through our carbs. Okay?
All right, so let's get started with our famous seafood garlic biscuits.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You may even make these on your free time, Gary.
I may.
Okay, we're making famous seafood garlic biscuits again. That's what we're aiming to do. We're going to take 2 cups of, it's saying Bisquick, but we're just using all-purpose baking mix. Okay. And a lot of times I know a lot of probably people out there. So we're going to use 2 cups. And I poured it in the bowl, Gary, so it'd be a little bit easier. You know, sometimes I can get a little messy there. You know, getting this floury substance. And the baking mix already has lots of things in it. If we were going to make a biscuit, you know, we would probably be using self-rising flour, or sometime we might even use plain flour and add our baking soda and baking powders and those things to it.
Okay.
So I've got about a cup.
So this is a lot easier to use the
this bacon mix, and it has a lot of stuff. I really like the bacon mix. I use a lot of that a lot of times to even make crepes, sometimes make pancakes, those type of things. So it's just something else that you can, a little bit more convenience for us.
Right.
So I've got 1 cup, and you see I'm not packing it down. Anytime we're doing any kind of bread making, we don't want to pack our dry ingredients down.
What will that do? Create it more?
It'd be more dense. It'd be a little bit more dense. So I'm going to try to level it off. Just taking the end of my spoon. So we have our 2 cups of our baking mix there. And then I'm just going to pull this a little closer to me, Gary, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
And then I am going to use a tablespoon of some ranch-style dressing dry mix. Okay. This is something that you would buy. It's over where the salad dressings are. They come in just little packets like this. Right. And this is just a ranch dry mix. Now, don't go get the wet one, but we want to get the dry, right? Right. So we're going to use 1 tablespoon.
Okay. Of the dry mix.
Of the dry ranch mix. And you know, I just love to smell that. So we have that. We're going to set that over there. And then it says mix our dry ingredients together. So we're going to take our baking mix and our dry ranch mix. We're just going to try to make sure that it's all mixed up really good. And then it says that we're going to add some garlic.
Okay.
So, you know, we got to have it. It did say garlic biscuits, didn't it?
Well, it said seafood garlic biscuits.
That's right. So we're going to use 1/8 of a teaspoon.
Okay.
Now, have you ever seen very many 1/8 of a teaspoons? Not very many in the measuring. So, Gary, here we've got about 1/4. And what I'm going to do, I am just going to put about 1/2. Now, I tell you, we have got some garlic lovers out there. They would probably say do the whole
Right.
1/4 of a teaspoon, right? So we're just going to set that to the side.
So it's a slight garlic flavor that we're getting here.
It's just a slight, but what we're aiming to do, we're going to do this because we're going to add some more garlic after the biscuits are done. Okay. So we've got all of our dry ingredients. And so we're going to add milk. We're adding 2/3 cup of milk. And let me say this, Gary. You know, I used the little black cup here for my dry mixture. And you see I have a cup with a spout on it, right?
Right.
So there's a little difference. So anytime we're doing liquid, we want one with a spout on it, okay?
Yes.
Because there is a slight difference, not a great deal, but you know. So we're going to mix.
So when you're talking about dry ingredients and you're talking about wet, the measurements are slightly different depending on the...
Yes, it's a little slightly different. So we're just, and it will be just a little bit lumpy.
Well, so far this is pretty easy.
It is.
I can smell that garlic.
Oh, I can smell that too. And then you know our ranch seasoning, it has some garlic and onions and different spices in there too. So we've got that mix. So now we're going to add 1 cup of cheddar cheese, okay? And you see my cheddar cheese is in my dry. So.
Yes. For your dry measurement.
Yes. So, whoops.
Okay.
Now, is that simple or is that simple, Gary?
Yeah, and I bet it's going to be good too with the garlic, the cheese, the ranch. Some good flavors.
You know, we don't have one of these restaurants here, but you know, if we go out of county to a larger city, Louisville, Lexington, those even E-Town, they have a seafood place that serves these biscuits. So.
Yes. I was thinking that's what they were kind of.
Yeah, this is what they are. Yes, that's what they are. And let me just tell you the ingredients. I think I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. We used 2 cups of baking mix here. We used a tablespoon of ranch-style dressing dry mix. We used 1/8 of a teaspoon of garlic powder. We used 2/3 cups of milk and a cup of cheddar cheese. So we've just mixed this very well. And you can see it does look a little lumpy, if you all can see out there. So this is what I really like. Because you know, Gary, I'm sure if you've ever made biscuits, you know, you have to roll them out and you have to do all of these things with that, right? Well, this we don't have to roll out. These are all that little drop biscuit. This is what I like.
Okay.
You know. I even do drop biscuits at home too, Gary.
Now you put some parchment paper down?
I put some parchment paper down. If you don't have parchment paper, just grease your baking sheet pretty good because we do not want it to stick.
Right.
And that does stick.
But you do need to do one or the other.
Yes, one or the other. I like parchment paper. It's easy cleanup, right?
Right. Okay.
Okay. Can you smell that garlic now?
I can.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So what we're going to do now, Gary, we are going to just drop some biscuits out here.
Now with that, you don't need a perfect size, I guess, right?
No, you don't, but you want them pretty uniformed with them. And so I am going to just...
So 2 spoons.
I've got 2 spoons. I like to put one, then I like to have one to just push it off, you know?
Okay.
So, and there's not a right or wrong way to do this.
Right.
But you can see all the seasonings.
Absolutely. And the cheese.
And the cheese. Oh, anything's good with cheese on
Absolutely.
it, isn't it, Gary?
Yes. Very good. That looks really good.
Let's see.
And we're looking for about 12 of the biscuits.
About 12.
Approximately.
Now, we've had to preheat our oven on 400.
Okay.
We've already got that preheated, and you know that's one of the most important factors that we need to do is when we're going to bake something is to make sure that oven is preheated. If you put that in there and it's not preheated, you're not going to get the heat evenly flowed throughout your cooking of your whatever you're cooking.
All right. So whenever you're baking, if it tells you 400 degrees, wait till it's actually at 400 degrees or what have you before you put them in.
And every oven will, whenever you hit that to set your temperature, it'll automatically preheat. And whenever it's through preheating, it usually does a little beeping sound. It lets you know that it is preheated. And Gary, we've already got 9 there.
Yeah.
So we're going to get about 12 out of here.
Absolutely. And they look good. They look like they'll be a nice biscuit.
They're going to be good, Gary. I really like these because they're just easy to do. And now, a lot of times, I don't know if anybody likes biscuits with their seafood, but they're pretty good. They're pretty good.
So there's actually not any seafood in them. They're just kind of based on...
It's based on one of the seafood because they all serve them all the time.
Right.
And I actually think that in our local grocery stores that they actually have that particular brand of them, but you can make your own.
That's right.
You can make your own.
Be fun and a little less expensive, possibly.
Yes. So we have got our biscuits already made.
Right.
And do you mind if I go over them again?
Good, please do.
Okay. This is made 12, and we've got approximately 12. I got one just a little bit smaller than I should have, but anyway, you've got 2 cups of your baking mix, 1 tablespoon of ranch-style dressing mixed dry, 1/8 teaspoon of garlic powder, 2/3 cups of milk, and 1 cup of cheddar cheese, and it says grated, which everybody can usually goes to the grocery store and gets the bag, and it's already grated for us. Yeah. So we're going to pop those in the oven, and when they are done, it's going to take about 8 to 10 minutes, or until they're kind of golden brown, and they usually do in about 8 to 10 minutes. And then when we bring them out, we're going to take, now I tell you what, we're going to use some butter. And we're going to melt our butter, and we're going to add some more garlic. And then we're going to just brush them on. It's just like painting. We're just going to brush those on, and we're going to have our famous seafood garlic biscuits.
Fantastic.
Okay? You ready for the going oven?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, and then we'll see what we get next.
Okay.
Okay, now we're ready for the next step on our biscuits, right?
Yes, we are. Now, it says that we're going to use some butter. It says, now this is optional, Gary. A lot of people say, well, I don't want all the extra fat. And that's okay, But it says optional. We're going to top with about 1/4 cup of melted butter. And, of course, you buy these. This is actually the little 4 quarters that you can buy in the butter box. You see, I'm doing everything really convenience, wasn't I?
Exactly.
So, but the good thing about any type of margarine or butter that you are buying, and USDA does recommend us to use the real butter, it always has the little tablespoons, the little measurements. So that's really good for us, right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to take that 1/4 cup of butter.
Now, I'm sorry, I have a quick question for you. Do you have a recommendation on whether you do use the salted or unsalted butter?
I like to do the unsalted butter. I just don't think we need a lot of extra sodium because even our biscuit mix that we used, it has sodium in it. Our ranch-style dry mix, it had sodium in it. And we're finding out that more and more people do not need the extra sodium. Right. We don't need but 2,400 milligrams a day, and that is only 1 teaspoon. And that is with everything that we eat. And 1 teaspoon, Gary, is this right here.
That's all you need of sodium all day.
All day. So, everything that we eat and a lot of things that we drink has sodium in them. Right. We don't realize that a lot of times, do we? A lot of times when we think of sodium, we think of maybe some chips, If anybody's doing sodas, we know sodas has lots and lots of sodium in them.
Oh, really?
Yes, but everything has got some sodium in it, unless that you're buying something that has no salt. But then if you're buying any canned items and it says no salt added, it still has a little bit of salt in it.
Right.
Okay.
You can add additional.
No additional, that's right. But a lot of times, and I'm sure you've seen people like I have, will take the salt shaker and set it on the table with them, and they will add more salt.
Yeah.
Maybe before they even taste it, right?
Yes.
So that's something to think about.
It's a hard habit to break.
Is it a hard habit to break?
So that's how much you're supposed to have in one day?
All day.
Okay.
1 teaspoon all day long,
teaspoon.
and that's with everything that we're eating.
Right.
Because, I mean, you know, if you're eating processed meat, it has a lot of food, a lot of sodium in it. But anything that we're going, if we even go and eat steak, and even if we don't add salt to it, that cow, that beef has eaten mineral. So it's already had some salt in that meat.
Right.
So probably the United States people are probably eating maybe more sodium than we need.
Yeah. Now these have, it's saying 403 milligrams of sodium per biscuit, right?
Per biscuit. Now that could be slightly high, especially if people that are having trouble with high cholesterol. You know, so that's something you might want to think about. So if somebody is having this, maybe I'm using unsalted butter today, but, you know, try to use some things that might be unsalted, you know, a little bit more. So, or if you're eating this, they may try to, in their diet throughout the day, might try to curve something else to try to do that.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Kind of make sure that you're equating whatever you're eating comes out to be what you need.
Yes. And you know, we're going to use some more garlic powder in this. Now this is garlic powder. It is not garlic salt.
Yeah.
So if you're using an onion powder or garlic powder, any of those powders, they're not going to have the extra sodium in them. Okay? Right. So that's why they recommend us to try to use the powders and not the salt. Right. You know, but some people really like that salt taste. But we acquire that a lot of times, don't you think?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm not a real big salt fan. I do not have to have a lot of salt.
So if you are a salt fan, you salt a lot, would it be better to, if you want something to put on, would pepper be better?
A pepper, a garlic, and now they have several blends of salt substitute. I was trying to say, I'm trying not to use a name brand, but if you go to the grocery store, there are several of them that will have several different seasoning. Right. And if we get used to eating those, using those and eating those on our food, if we do eat something that has a lot of salt in it, it might be a little bit too salty for us. Right. You know. And I'm not knocking potato chips, but you know, potato chips a lot of times are very loaded with salt, you know. So that's something. Yes. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of our garlic. You see this little handy dandy thing I had. Now I only go down to 1/4. So I'm only going to use half of this because we used 1/8 in our dry.
So in total, we will have an 1/8 or a 4th, excuse me.
1/4 of a cup. I mean, 1/4 of a teaspoon. I'm sorry. We put 1/4 of a cup. We'll really be garlicky, won't we? So we're just going to put that on top while our biscuits are doing that, and then we're going to place that in the microwave, and we're going to melt it right as our bread comes out. Okay. So, but with this recipe, Callie, why I pulled it today too, I know this is getting to be Lent season, right? A lot of people are eating a lot of seafood. Seems like they eat more seafood around that time than they do any other time of year, right? But I love seafood. I could eat it all year round. So that's it. But I thought this might be a little alternative that somebody could eat this, you know, with their seafood. Something different. We're always looking for something different. And, you know, again, you was talking about the healthy options of it. But if we eat things in moderation, Gary, that maybe, you know, we're going to do pretty good that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, moderation is the big thing.
Moderation is the big key, right?
Yes. Not as much what you eat as how much you eat.
How much you eat. Just like the 12 biscuits are in the oven. Now, if you and I brought those out and you ate 6 and I ate 6, I don't think we are eating in moderation. Do you? No. So, but that's what I'm saying. Anything that we're eating, and we're always talking about something healthy for us. Sometimes, we're getting into the time of year with holidays and things, and sometimes we have things that are not our healthiest option, but again, we do everything in moderation.
Absolutely. So we're going to wait for our biscuits to come out, then we're going to cover them with our butter sauce.
With our garlic and our butter, and we are using real butter today. I know people are going to say that is a fat. Okay, it is a fat, but butter is much better for us than the other alternative. Margin. The USDA tells us that we do need to use the real butter.
Yeah. We need a part of all the different things. We have calories, fat, protein, carbohydrates, cholesterol, and sodium are all listed there. We need some of all of them. It's just they need to be in moderation.
Yes, they all need to be in moderation for us. Okay? That
all
didn't
right.
take too long, did it, Gary?
Not at all.
All right. We have got our biscuits out, and now we're going to get to paint them. We're going to paint them with our little pastry brush.
Okay, I can smell the garlic in there still.
Can you smell that garlic? I know.
And the cheese. I think I can smell the cheese from the...
Yeah. You're just going to paint them up.
Now they're glistening.
They are. They're just telling us, I'm going to really be good, right?
Exactly. And these are our famous seafood garlic biscuits.
Yes.
Now, we were saying that you do this with some of the kids in the county that you teach.
Yes, I do. And this is one of their favorite recipes to make, is these biscuits. And, you were asking me, we had some honey over here, and the kids will even put jelly or honey or anything that they can get that they like to eat them. Now, you see we got a little bit of extra butter, and my bowl is kind of hot, Gary, but you can see. Yeah, and you notice that when we were putting the butter on it, I did not try to saturate the biscuit at all. We just put
a coating.
A coating, that's right. But, that's anybody's own discretion, what they're doing.
They look good. There's your little mini biscuit.
Yes, that was one. I kind of got off balance here with what I was making.
And so we had them in the oven at 400 degrees for about 10...
I think we did almost 10 minutes. It says 8 to 10 minutes, and I think it was right at approximately 10 minutes, Gary.
And you can see this is a nice full plate, so if you had some fish go along with this, it would be a nice size.
You could, or any kind of other seafood that you wanted. I think you and I were talking about all the good seafood there that we could eat. Might have needed a little bigger plate. But you can see, Gary, don't touch that. That's a little hot. Our pan is a little bit hot. I'm just going to scoot it out of the way over here for us. We don't want anybody burnt. That's the thing about it. But you can see our biscuits, they look very nice, I think. Not because I made them, but they look very nice. And they smell wonderful. I hope our audience, wonder if they're getting the smell, smell-o-vision. But this would be something if you are getting ready for maybe a family event or something to have. This would be something a little bit extra. I think you and I were talking about some vegetables and different things when we was off the air. Coleslaw, some fish, grilled fish, any type of seafood that you have. This would be something extra to have with it.
Absolutely. And that's the famous seafood garlic biscuits. The recipe is available from the Extension office. Yes,
and we're located at 416 Fairgrounds Road, and our telephone number is 270-692-2421.
Fantastic. I've been here with Juanita Heron at the Marion County Extension office. It's been Gary White for Channel 6 Central Kentucky Television.